before starting the conversation with the audience, I just wanted to ask you what fascinates you about surveillance camera and found footage, and also what was the process like of collecting all the CCTV material and assembling it into this movie?
这个电影呢是从那个2013年开始的啊。当时呢，我看到那个在电视上、法制节目上经常出现这样的监控影像的画面啊，所以我就印象很深。我觉得这些监控影像真的给我一种特殊的一种震撼力，因为呢，它真的是在人的最自然的状态下被捕捉到的。
I started some of the ideas of this film in 2013. I saw some footage, mostly on news, quite often legal reports of news. And I saw these images, and they're very, very strong. They have a lot of impact because these are filmed in the most natural setting when people are at their most natural state.
后来我就在想，如果谁能够只用这些监控影像来做一个剧情的故事片，我觉得这个片子一定非常有意思。
So that's when I got the idea that if someone is going to make a feature film, use all these video footage, and that could be a very interesting thing.
因为我们看到的所有的剧情片呢，都是造出来的。
Because all the feature films we've ever seen, they're made up.
所以呢，我当时就做了一个试验，我觉得这个想法能够成立的。所以我就开始跟朋友、什么保安呐、电视台的人那个搜集这些影像啊。但是当时呢，并没有这么多的影像。
So I thought that concept makes sense. So I start talking to people. I start talking to people who are doing video surveillance and security guards and people who are in the news business. So I start talking to people about that. But at that particular time, there were not as many images as they have now.
所以这个项目呢就停了一段时间，一直到了这个2014年底，我们发现在网络上有很多的监控影像的出现。
So the project got paused for a little bit, and then until the end of 2014, that's when we realized there's a lot of civilian images that's actually on the internet.
我们又重新开始了这个项目。跟我们团队一直工作到几个月以前，这个项目才算完成。
So we restarted the project, and we did it with our team, and up until a few months ago, that we were continuously working on the project.
这是我们的那个制片人和剪辑马修。
And Matthieu here is one of our producers, and he also did the editing.
Questions? Do you have it? Yes, please, up there, the gentleman.
How did you go about collecting the images? Did the images dictate the story, or did the story then dictate which images you chose?
So if I heard correctly, the question was, did the images dictate the story, or is the other way around, the story?
我们工作室呢有接近20台电脑啊，然后我们呢这个在差不多1年到2年的时间内呢，我们每天呢24小时的在 download 这些在网络上出现的监控影像。
There are 20 computers in our studio, and we download images 24 hours a day of all these images that we found on the internet.
然后呢，我们把这些画面呢给分类，最后一共呢，最后我们使用了有11000多个小时的画面。
And then we start to categorize all these images that we found, And at the end, we edited from about 11,000 hours of footage.
我这个我实际上呢，这个是先有剧本还是先有这个画面？它是这么相互交替着来的。
It's difficult to say whether we have the storyline first or we had the images first. I think they comes in circles.
它和一般的电影不一样，在我们还没有剧本的时候呢，我们的室外拍摄已经完成了。
It's very different from the regular feature films. Before we had a script, we did all our shooting.
我们的工作室呢，这个好像是不分工作室和工作室之外，因为我们的摄影师呢分布在中国的各地，甚至世界的各地，无时无刻的不在向我们提供特殊的画面。
And there's no actual boundaries to our own studio because there are people taking footages for our studio all over China and even outside of China in other parts of the world.
因为我没有一位摄影师，但是全世界的、全中国的监控摄像头都成了我们的摄影师。
We do not have a cameraman, but all the video footages that shoot by everyone, they are our cameraman.
Yes, please.
I was wondering about the debate if there was any about footage of people being injured or maybe even dying that was used in the film, and how you decided which scenes to use or what context of them would be in the film.
So the question was if there were any people injured or even died or killed in the the footage that we see, and why did he decide to choose or not to choose that particular footage? Is that correct? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
这个我们的团队这个经过1-2年时间呢，每天集中的看这些监控影像，最后我们发现，实际上这个在现实中发生的事情是远远超越于我们的这个认知范畴的。
After this 1 or 2 years of watching all these images, our team discovered that what actually happened in real life is actually beyond our own comprehension.
我们的团队在工作一段以后呢，我们都有一个共同的感觉，我们出门都特别小心。
And we all reached this common feeling, our whole team. We became very careful when we go outside.
因为我们发现这个世界呢，其实是危机四伏的，而且呢是任何事情都有可能发生的。
We feel that there are hidden risks everywhere, and anything could happen at any moment.
实际上呢，在这个我们使用的这些灾难也好，这个一种那个不幸的事件也好等等的，但是实际上有比这个更残酷不知道多少倍的画面被监控影像记录下来，而我们并没有使用。
Even though there are a lot of disastrous and unfortunate events that's shown here on the images, there are even more tremendous ones that had happened, had been recorded somewhere, and we didn't use them.
监控呢，实际上它可以平静的100个小时什么都不说，但是它可以在瞬间呢发生真的是非常奇异的事情。
What's interesting about civilian footage is that nothing happens for 100 hours, and then something dramatic happens all of a sudden.
实际上呢，我们是想 把这样的一种特点呢反映在我们的影片里。另外呢，这些这个奇特的这些景象，实际上呢，它的目的是为了什么呢？其实还是要衬托这个电影叙述的两个主角的非常私密的、脆弱的这个非常微小的这种古典的一种情感。
So we want to carry that feel to it, that things could happen suddenly, and we wanted to have those visual facts. But at the same time, we want to have those visual facts to be in contrast with these people's very private, very fragile, very subtle, and even small lives.
Yes, the lady up there. So you made a film based on the surveillance footage. So I wonder what were are your thoughts on the surveillance by the state agencies or the corporations on Dragonfly?
So the director has made a movie with surveillance cameras footage. So he wants to know what is his idea, what are his thoughts about like the surveillance agency actually, or like
我过去通过私人的关系找到那些影像呢，在我们这个片子上一帧都没有使用。现在所有使用的都是公开，在网络上公开的画面。
I did find footages through my private interactions with people that they provided me some footages, but I ended up not using any of those. All the footages that's been used here are footages that's published online.
other questions? Yes, please, the gentleman. Yeah.
I guess it's more of a genre question. I'm not really familiar with this genre, but you can see it in other parts, whether it's collage or I was thinking of Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique prior to the change of copyright law and sampling and sourcing. So as far as what your requirements are when you're sourcing from this material, I see a long laundry list of all of your crediting of the cameras. Is that basically the requirement then to then use it and put it out into the world as an art piece?
Could you just repeat that question a little louder, please?
I couldn't
Just
hear
a
it,
genre
sorry.
question about the intellectual property. What the requirement is to then use it as an art piece. It looked from my ostensibly that you just need to list the camera source.
So the question is that in terms of artistic property, intellectual property, yeah, and he saw
What are the requirements to use this material? Is that correct? Yeah.
这是一个非常复杂的一个问题啊，因为我们咨询了几乎每一个律师，但是几乎每一个律师都说不清楚这个的版权和肖像权的界限在哪儿。
That's actually a very complicated question. We've consulted every lawyer we've met, and no one could give us a very definitive answer of exactly where to draw the lines of people's, say, rights of their images and portraits and so on. So it's very difficult to actually to have some very definitive definition, like idea of in terms of rights.
因为呢，这个其实也是这个影片要讨论的内容之一。这些法律呢，其实都是在这个监控影像上传到云端以前建立的，而并不能够面对今天的世界的更新的变化。
So that's actually another issue that we want the film to be able to bring out, which is most of the laws are written for civilian images, are for images that are taken before it gets published onto the internet or upload to the cloud. So after that happens to there, then the regulation gets blurry.
实际上，我们在影片进行了到了一定阶段以后呢，我们开始意识到，我们必须去寻找这些人，就是我们这些从未谋面过的人，到底他们的现实生活和他们的所思所想是什么样的？同时，我们要争夺他的肖像权的认可。
So after our project developed for a while, we realized we did have the need to have to find these people and have to have their permission to use their image.
为什么可以找到呢？因为在所有的被公开的这些画面边上呢，其实都有一个卫星的定位，它是在哪条街道上、哪个城市等等。所以我们根据这个线索，我们找到了绝大部分的在我们这个影片中出现的形象相对比较清楚的人。
That's actually doable. Is that in almost all the images that you can find, there will be in the corner there will be a designation. There will be a designation system that indicate the location that is designated by the satellite. So we could find. Basically, we could locate exactly on which street these cameras were and be able to basically track down most of the people whose image gets carried in the footage that are clearly enough to tell.
So, more questions? Yes, the lady here. Yeah.
Does this screen all the footage just using people or do you use software programs the 11,000 hours of video?
So the question is, did you use like people to screen all the material or some other device for the 11,000 plus hours?
我们呢是这个团队呢一直在把这些画面都给它非常快的过，然后呢给它分类啊，最后再精选出来以后，然后呢在这个再进行这样的一步一步的剪辑和一步一步的缩小啊。
Our team do fast forward all these images, and then we choose and categorize images that we saw, and then we start to work on specific images.
这个关于剪辑呢，我想应该是请马修来谈一点。
Yes, to select all this footage, it take times, but the good thing is all the footage are categorized by location. So, and we have a script, so we know what kind of shot can match with what scene. So we can reduce the quantity per scene, and so little by little we can find the good shot for the good scene. And so after that we need to add lots of shots. As we edit, we find more shots interesting, and we try to put it inside the film. But of course, I didn't watch 11,000 hours of footage, and no one can do that. But using imagination and our taste and feelings, we can decide what shot to use.
Time for just one last question. Yes, please.
I have one question. I noticed a lot of footage have timestamp on top. So I'm wondering, is that leave on purpose because it's not matching with the storyline? For example, some footage is taken in 2015, some are taken in 2016. So I'm wondering, is that leave on purpose or is just leave it as raw as it is?
So if the code, the time, the dates on the images were left on purpose or not, yeah, because they don't match actually the timeline of the movie.
谢谢问题。这些是我们有意保留的，而且这些的时间码呢，都是在这个此刻发生的真实的时间。最早的一个画面呢是上个世纪末的，1999年的。最新的一个画面呢，差不多是今年4月份的啊。你先看吧。
Yes, we did deliberately kept them there, and the earliest. So we could then demonstrate that these events happened at those exact hours. So, for example, the earliest image that we had was actually the end of last century, so it's in 1999. And then the latest image that we've got is earlier this year.
其实这个保留呢，我觉得是非常有意图的。实际上在暗示我们，就是说，什么是真实的，和什么是我们这个想象出来的。
And we kept there very much intentionally because we wanted to give that message that what is actually happened and what is our own imagination or interpretation of what happened.
而且呢，这个电影呢，它是从寺院开始的啊。实际上呢，这个主角呢是由很多的人构成的。这里边呢就涉及到这个佛教的一个非常核心的命题，就是说佛教是不承认人本身的。
That actually carries out a very interesting concept that's embedded in the storyline. The story started in a monastery, and the main character is actually consists of many different people, and that is very much a reflection of the Buddhism concept that a person as a entity doesn't really exist.
佛教讲究轮回。
For example, Buddhism believes in reincarnation.
这些不同的人所构成的一个人，他们之间到底是什么样的一个关系？还是他们是不是一个轮回的关系？他们是不在一个时空中的。
Many people, they actually build up into one person. That is a very Buddhism concept. So these different people, when they exist in different time frames, what's the relationship between them? Are they different carnations of a particular thing? So that's the sort of concept that we're trying to explore.
We have to wrap up the conversation here, but maybe we can continue outside of the theater if you are interested.
Thank you.